I guess there's a couple of things to this whole story, right? The first thing is that I shouldn't have left Fnatic in the first place.
They're looking for Rekkles, they're looking for Rekkles, upsets him as well!
We won't see Rekkles, we won't see G2 at Worlds this year.
G2 were actually in the right to bench me and multiple players in the team because we're supposed to win everything and we didn't win anything. The only thing that I didn't like was how they blocked me from going to other teams. If they are so confident in themselves, they could just compete against me.
I have not won so many games with any team ever in my career, ever, in scrims. It's crazy because I feel like this roster has the highest potential I've ever had on any roster.
The roster that they have built is going to be a good one. I think there will be a team that everyone is going to fear.
G2 are inevitable. G2 are inescapable.
For the first time in 875 days, Fnatic take down G2. Fnatic rule Europe.
G2 are the greatest team we have ever produced, and they go back to back to back to back.
But this match is not about the rivalry of G2 and Fnatic. It is about one of these lineups taking the first step on the climb back to the top. G2 and Fnatic are no longer reigning champions, but they can be again.
I've been on both sides. Now Rekkles, I guess, is also back. He's been on both teams. Yike is back on G2, who was my former teammate.
I think it's a lot more hype now that Rekkles is back in Fnatic. And I guess Wunder is there as well that I'm excited to play against.
Two prodigal sons of EMEA return to the bottom lane. Rekkles and Hans Sama.
Throughout my career, I think Hans was the hardest player to play against. He was pretty much the only one in the early days that stood up against me.
I think it's really exciting to play against Rekkles. It's always been since 2017 when I first came, and it feels like we've been competing against each other for a long time already.
Sama's doing the pivot, no Rekkles! He takes it away! Rekkles dodged the petrifying gaze! Rekkles and Azir get in the back door! The perfect team fight! They take it all!
This year starts with our biggest rivalry, as old names will write a new chapter in the history of G2 and Fnatic.
It feels more like a hype matchup on paper. Off the paper, it's not going to be so hype. Because they're getting good stuff.
G2 getting into the studio. I don't know if you caught it, but the hand puppets, one is Wunder and the other one is Rekkles, actually. Roman came to show them to us in the green room before, but that's great. Also, the whole G2 gang in terms of the fans, they've been making the party in the studio all weekend, and I just met a couple of them over in the fan area as well, so I know they're excited just as the Fnatic fans are. But this match of the week, a mix between players who have ruled Europe in the LEC and in the EULCS at different points in time, mixed with new blood that is looking to rather rule Europe in the future, seeing how they can get on with each other and if they can rekindle some of that magic on both sides. I also love the fact that as our sport is aging, we now have this situation where, yes, you used to be on this team, but now you're on this team again, and now you're there, and the storylines, they're just mwah.
Yeah, I mean, Traitor, Heartbreaker, you know, we get it all into it. But, I mean, genuinely, it is fantastic to see these two kind of, as you say, a rekindling of these old rivalries, right? Obviously, there's the G2 versus Fnatic, but within this as well, I mean, the fact you got Hans Sama and Mikyx back together, this has been a bot lane that it was terrifying when they used to play together, and we're kind of seeing that, at least from yesterday, once more. Now you got Yike stepping up to try and go against Razork, who also turned over a new leaf, I feel like, with the Kindred yesterday. This game is going to be a banger.
I think it's just building on the rosters as well. I think Yike came in with an amazing debut yesterday as well, and brought more from just that one game in terms of explosiveness. Like, everyone was willing to pull the trigger. Once Yuumi gets CC'd, okay, I flash forward. I'm just going in. And even on the side of Fnatic, they were so willing to fight as well, and specifically through the top side. Remember, all year, last year, it was all about Razork having to be, well, I'm not going to play for myself. I'm going to play for my lanes. And then yesterday, well, let's put Razork on the Kindred. Let's try and play for him. So it seems like there is evolution on both teams as well, with some of the roster swaps coming through, albeit Razork, of course, stayed there.
And I love seeing the willingness of both these teams to play towards their jungles, right? I think one of the big things that we saw from Razork last split was like, hey, he's going to go Poppy, you know, he's going to play around mid. That's kind of the game plan that we're going to come in with. But yesterday, seeing Rhuckz coming out of the bot lane to support Razork, especially against an aggressive jungler like Bo, it feels like you're nearly going to want to do the same here against Yike, because you saw the exact same story yesterday from G2. We're going to go for these early invades. We're going to make sure that we're able to support him. We're going to get Mikyx out of the bot lane on this Heimerdinger, and we want to take over. So I feel like we're going to need to see a similar story from Fnatic in their early game yesterday, which was actually quite successful against Vitality, whatever about the mid game.
Yeah, and I was all about this as well coming into today. I think after watching today, where we've seen more Sejuani as well to come in, maybe we're painting a different picture than what we might see, but it's just the fact that you have two junglers here that was willing to take the carry mantle on towards themselves. And I think specifically as well, having junglers being facilitated, from what we saw, that needs to come from the bot lane.
From the bot lane, indeed, individual lane matchups that are gathered. We said it already. Hansama and Mikyx, we saw it yesterday on the other side. Of course, the reintroduction of Rekkles now with Rhuckz. It's going to come down to a lot. Again, I imagine if you think about the pedigree between these two players, and also if we look at how G2 played yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't want to see Hansama and Mikyx getting their hands on this Ashenheimer bot lane. It felt like it gave so much control to set up for Yike. And you can see, like, Hansama did not miss. I mean, genuinely, I think I saw about 50 million tweets talking about, can we check Hansama's PC for how accurate he was on these Ashe arrows. But it was so incredible. And I think once you got this advantage now for G2 on the bot side, getting Mikyx out of that lane, consistently roaming mid, working with the jungler, this was what brought around that success for G2.
Yeah, that's the big thing. That's how they started up, stacking objective on objective. And despite BrokenBlade having some issues against Odo's Katan's up in that top lane, it did not matter, because every single time that there was a 1v1, well, it was never a 1v1. The rest of G2 was around that area like vultures because of how enabled they got.
And the motivation is sky high for G2. We avoid, or try to avoid, overreacting, but they've been doing it a little bit themselves, right? Hearing BrokenBlade saying, the best environment I've been in. Mikyx saying, 2019, don't sweat it. We'll top that. It's very interesting, because it also, for me, contrasts with a Fnatic who I think is under so much pressure to perform, to not go 0-3 as they sometimes have done in these opening weeks after that game yesterday that they had in the palm of their hand.
Yeah, it's not the first time that we see a slow start coming through, but I will also give the benefit of the doubt if we are talking bot lane pressure specifically, right? Rekkles was level 2 gang by the Graves coming down as well. You never really got to play that 2v2 as you really intended. And despite that, it was still Fnatic that stacked up all the dragons. So despite, the bot lane not functioning as it could have, it didn't actually stop Fnatic from making the objective go their way, and specifically in the mid lane, or mid game rather, because the early game did not go their favor, but they managed to pull it back, and unfortunately had the biggest throw of the season on day one. So that doesn't really say much, but against Vitality.
But I gotta praise them for how they did play the early game, right? I mean, the fact that we saw consistently Rhuckz matching a lot of these roams that were coming through from Kaiser, making sure that he was able to keep the mid and the jungle safe, was really, really strong. So I want to see a very similar story here from Fnatic once more, where they are setting themselves up for success, and then you can try and slow things down come the mid game, right? It felt like they kind of got a little bit ahead of themselves when we came to that big Baron fight, where they were like, oh, we can close out the game. You see Humanoid flashing forward, just misses the Q. Like, one or two of these things going their way, completely different story. But you have to make sure you're wrapping these up against G2, because essentially what we saw yesterday was G2 got this early lead, and their mid game wasn't the most incredible, but they just bullied their way through the mid game. They said, hey, look, we have a lead. We're just going to fight you. We're going to beat you down. We're going to hammer you back. And that's where I'm getting worried for Fnatic. If one or two of these mistakes creep in, G2 will punish.
Hammer you back, Heimer you back, maybe.
True.
Is it ban-worthy in a situation like this, where a lot of bot focus maybe in play?
I think it would be completely. And I think it's also just you don't want to let them have the pressure that we've seen so many teams already have with that Heimerdinger. I think another one to maybe consider is that Lucian Nami lane. I think that's pivotal, because if Heimer's out the way, well, you know that Lucian's Nami going to be the next highest on that tier list of AD carries and support duos to come through.
And that's where it gets so tough, right? Because especially when we saw Yike bringing out the Graves, they're like, do we want to toss the ban that direction? He looked pretty good on that. It's like, okay, well, now I still got Mikyx, I still got Sejuani, I still got Fight. There's still so many jungle picks that are there. Now we're tossing more at the bot lane. I think this is where teams that have this dynamic, where they can bring through carries in the jungle, bring through carries in the top for BrokenBlade, this is where it becomes very difficult to draft against these teams. And when you can have so many different parts of your map take over, it's very, very hard to play against a team like this.
I guess you could say, is there a strategy in the fact that Yike didn't seem phased whatsoever yesterday, even when he made that mistake early on in the game? Razork has a lot more experience, so is that going to be... I won't let you answer because we're going into the game. And that's what the people want to see. So let's see. Fnatic versus G2, match of the week. Let's freaking go.
Hello, I'm Wunder.
I'm Rekkles.
And we're here for Fnatic versus G2 match of the week.
Look at my KDA.
Good, yes, good KDA. Are there any Fnatic fans in the house? Can we get a cheer? Yeah? Yeah! Yes, of course!
Are there any G2 fans in the crowd?
G2 might have won.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. So, that's us and Puppets. Shout out to Ramon, G2, for making these wonderful... This is very uncomfortable.
Gonna be Rekkles in my heart?
No, I don't want to be Rekkles with your heart. What are you... Put the puppet away! We're professionals! Thank you for indulging us. Again, shout out to G2 for the wonderful puppets. Apparently, they are very sweaty, but that was sweet. This is a serious game. It's a fun game, but it is a very serious game. Let's meet the teams for Fnatic versus G2. That we are seeing in-house tonight. That is a very shiny jacket, my friend.
Top father. Let's see if we see it today. We didn't see it yesterday.
Indeed.
Struggled a little bit against Auto Amne. Wunder also struggled against the Jax of Photon as well with the Gragas. But Fnatic definitely got a big lead in that game. It just all fell apart towards the end, later stages. Yep. Whereas G2 was just a clean, dominant game up against XL. So I wonder what kind of version of both teams will get this time around. G2 on the blue side, Fnatic on the red side.
We're in the lobby, as well as in the game, to make sure we can capture all the banter for you as well. But it's important to note, this is an incredibly historic matchup. We will talk about it till the end of time because it is one of the most iconic, if not the most iconic, in European League of Legends. Today, however, is just a single best of one, and it is less about the history of Fnatic and G2 and more about the present, the here, the now, and both of these rosters showing us what they're made of. Day one was rough for Fnatic. Day two was fantastic for G2, as you highlighted. An opportunity now for Fnatic to turn it around in style. If they do so against G2 Esports, huge boost of confidence.
Caps just disappeared for a moment and reappeared, ran back on the stage. He was roaming, I think. He went for a cheeky roam before the game started. But yeah, you're completely right. Crowd is incredibly loud, and I'm just curious what kind of bot matchup we're going to get here. I feel like Rekkles was leaning towards the Varus a lot. I'm not sure how much he's prepared things like the Lucian and the Zeri. They're incredibly meta, but we'll see what he decides to go for. Rhuckz really, the reason I say that is because Rhuckz really likes melee engaged sports. We saw his Rakan at Worlds, we saw his Leona. I love seeing him on a champion that just goes forwards. But when you play things like the Lucian and the Zeri, you play more Enchanter style.
Certainly do. And also yesterday we saw just two very different styles of bottom lane, and less in the AD carries, to be completely honest with you, and more in the supports. Mikyx pulling out Timer, Rhuckz, as you highlighted, pulling out Rakan, pulling out that engage option. And traditionally, you either match engage with engage, or you match range with range when it comes to supports. Often that mismatch can be really, really devastating. So it'll be interesting to see who actually kind of sets the pace for this bottom lane. Is Mikyx going to be confident enough that he can take a range support into a melee option, like a Nautilus, like a Rakan, like a Leona, or will he fight fire with fire in that regard? It's going to be interesting to track. Similarly, Yike, a guy who had a fantastic debut, absolutely stellar. Now going up against Razork, who was hands down the best individual performer, I think, in that Fnatic game, at least statistically.
Yeah.
See if you can replicate that same success on stage again today.
And it's kind of like, I mean, we had two Graves players yesterday. One was Bo, one was Yike. And then Bo went into a tank style, right? He showed multiple styles. Is Bo happy to do that? Yike, sorry, happy to do that? I think he is. I think he's absolutely fine playing something like a Sejuani or a Maokai if his team needs it. I think the champions are just so powerful in this patch that you can't ignore it or shy away from it, and it pairs so well with a lot of champions in the meta right now. Jax, Renekton with a Sejuani, Fiora, Camille, whatever it may be. Wukong jungle is another one that works well with almost every mid laner. Things like Ahri and Syndra really benefits from the CC that he can provide. But jungle and bot lane, I think, is the most important right now. And I think that's where all of the early advantages come from. The push, the invade on that side. We always see junglers do something like 3 camps into invade or 1 camp into level 2 gank, despite it being very kind of like a full clear-ish style from the champions themselves. But there's the Heimerdinger ban. Mickey's not going to get his hands on that. See how this draft unfolds. I really wonder what Fnatic have got prepared in the bot lane specifically, just because how I mentioned how Rhuckz just likes to be that vocal figure in going forwards. Lucian ban, Heimer ban, range supports being taken away. Are they going to ban Yuumi as well? I wonder. Ryze is open.
What else do they want to take off the board? A lot of premier options left on the table. Rekkles is Varus going to get banned away. Of course, Hansam and Rekkles have a bit of history together, but really it's more about Mickey and Rekkles. They spent an entire year playing together. Will either one be able to exploit the habits of the other? For now, just limiting champion pools, and you can very clearly see when it comes to draft, this game is about bottom lane. 4 bans already. Fnatic.
Yuumi. First pick.
Yuumi.
For Fnatic. I think Rekkles will find comfort here in Sivir. I wonder if G2 take away the Zeri and go for something like the Lulu. Very similar situation to, I believe it was game 3, where Yuumi, Lulu are up, and Zeri. They first pick the Zeri, then they'll take Lulu. Oh, okay, well, they're going Draven. They're going Draven, they're going melee support, I imagine, and they're going to dive you. So Fnatic need to be very careful. I think they're pre-picking Draven here, expecting Zeri or Sivir. Does he go for Ezreal now, Rekkles, to be a bit safer? There's Jax as well, so very volatile bot lane matchup you have to imagine on 3 coming in.
Difficult situation. Picking Ezreal, you feel like you just concede a lot of that pressure in the early lane. Can be a little bit difficult. Gets easier, obviously, once you have level 6, once you have a few more items under your belt, but do they want to fight back? Do they want to contest here a bit? Zeri, this is a premier duo.
Yeah, you can't not go for it with the Yuumi, right? I mean, Ezreal would be the safe option. Sivir really struggles into Draven. Zeri is just such a powerful champ if she can get rolling. Now, what do they pick here, Fnatic? They pick Gragas. Does Wunder go for the Gragas top here into Jax? Do they prioritize something like Syndra for Humanoid, or do they want to go down a jungle route? You know, something like the Vi into this Draven, get him locked down. Something like the Wukong to disrupt the fight. Sejuani as well. So they've gone for the jungle route. Ignoring solo lanes for now, so G2 probably going to target out Wunder a little bit to make sure that BrokenBlade has a good matchup or take away some of the blinds. But yeah, Draven Nautilus wouldn't surprise me. Any kind of melee support that can get on top of this Zeri, lock her down and play for this Draven. Yike's going to have to find a jungler here that can assist. I wonder if Elise ban is good here for Fnatic, something that can really dive bot in the early stages. Not as much as a farming jungler as things like the Graves, but I think that's just such a scary trio to play against. Elise, Draven, Nautilus.
It is, and I really would be excited to see it as well, because you've been building up this Elise all day. You've been talking about the potential that this champion has, and we've really yet to see it come to fruition on this stage. So see if it's something that Fnatic either want to take away or G2 want to opt for. For now, limiting the top pool. Already, BrokenBlade has the Jax, and now going to take away some of the counter picks, some of the options of that champion, just to make sure that he has the most dominant lane matchup possible. Interestingly, the Vi going to be taken out. With the Nautilus already locked in, there's a lot of hard CC options for the Zeri if she strays too close. It seems like Fnatic does not want to give G2 another one.
Yeah, Vi a good ban. Nautilus ult is basically undodgeable for Zeri. Add a Vi ult to that. I don't think Rekkles is going anywhere in those fights. So, good pick up there. They want to make sure they could get the Nautilus for the lane, though. GP ban coming in, interesting. So I think Wunder, I don't think he'll struggle to find a top lane champ. He can play everything. This Yuumi, maybe it's Wunder's, you know? Yeah. Who knows where this Yuumi's going with, you know, Wunder on your team. I think he'll just pick something like the Gragas. There's the Caedrel ban, because I expect Fnatic's playing double AP mid-jungle. Azir is really strong here for either side as well. So G2 could play to deny the Azir and then pick jungle on 5, or Caps might have a pick into the Azir. Varus is banned, unfortunately, so no AP Varus. But yeah, with the Caedrel ban, I mean, Syndra's up. He might have responses. Do you take away Azir? Do you pick your jungler?
The debate. Taking the time on this one. There it is. Viego, a champion who can carry, can also gank early on. Can be an absolute powerhouse, but the fact that they opted for the jungle here makes it feel a little bit like they've got the counter pick up their sleeve for whatever Humanoid wants to bring. The Azir, as you called it out, the easy lock-in for the side of Fnatic.
Yeah. I think you can't pick Gragas here. They're going to have way too much AP damage. Renekton would be some kind of easy fallback. Cassante, yeah, anything that can deal with the Jax. That's a good pick up there for Fnatic. Really well-rounded team fight, comp, a lot of scaling. So how does G2 round this out? A roaming mid, something like the Talia could work to move towards bot side, help out with these Draven lane. Look for dives, could match it with a Syndra, an Azir, an Akali. skirmish-heavy champion. Will struggle in the early lane phase, as always, into ranged matchups, but will become stronger in the mid-game.
This would be a very, very volatile composition for G2 Esports if they do want to go for the Akali here.
Yeah.
Ooh, and this is high-stakes gameplay. If we go late enough without G2 having massive gold leads, these teamfights are super hard for them to play out. The Draven easy to lock down, the limited range, the telegraphed axe landing can make it so hard to play against a lot of the champions like the Zeri or the Azir. But if G2 pull ahead in the early game, Mark, this is going to be so impossible for Fnatic.
Yeah, this is one of those situations where if the Draven Nautilus gets rolling, they can like proxy the Zeri in between two towers and just start pushing Rekkles back. Razork has to come help, but Viego wins 1v1. So in terms of like raw 1v1s and skirmishes, G2 are ahead in that regard, so they have to force something. But if the game is just even for 20-25 minutes and G2 don't get dragon stacking or they can't force down towers or look for dives, then Fnatic are in a great spot. So Fnatic holding on, G2 pushing the play forwards. The only problem that G2 have, I suppose, is they don't have much mid-push in the early stages, but Yike should win 1v1 against the Sejuani, and after first base, he will be absolutely fine. I think Cap's just coming in, and then once he gets some points in queue, he can start to push back, but I think eyes on bot lane. Top lane will be a bit of a farm fest. Junglers might look for level 2 ganks. Mid lane, Azir will have the push, but it's bot lane. What's going to happen there? Are they going to late invade bot, split the map? Are they going to try to look for hooks level 1 or all-ins level 1 by flashing forwards like we saw with Lebrov on Thresh earlier today? Start forcing out those summoners as quickly as possible.
Very high stakes bottom lane. It's always going to be the case, of course, when there's a Draven in the game, doubly so. When they're playing against former teammates, in the case of Mikyx and Rekkles. Heard it was a difficult year for both of them. I'm sure they love to take some angst out on the stage as we get into game. Fnatic versus G2 Esports.
Just kidding. There's a pause. So we'll be in the game shortly. Fnatic. Fnatic pause.
Sorry for the headphone users out there. Fnatic pause hack is a chant I did not expect. Seems like players are all just saying ready now, so we should be moments away. A lot of sass from the audience today. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, decked out on the suits as well. I like it a lot.
This is dressed up.
Yeah.
This is a winter formal, some would say.
Here to see the classic, El Clasico.
The new classic. A lot of top father chants. And this is the thing I will say, I said it backstage as well. I love K'Sante being in meta because you fight with this champion. You have to fight with this champion. And it means that we get so many more thrilling, interesting lane matchups. Now, Wunder opted to take Flash instead of Ghost.
Yeah, we've seen Flash a few times on the K'Santes. We've seen Ghost a few times. I guess it's just situational. I think Odoamne was running the Flash into BrokenBlade in the Jax. Maybe helps to dodge away from the QE jump.
And while it's a bit quiet in the game, the battle in the stands roars from both sides' fan bases. They're debating. Are they taking turns or are they fighting at the same time? This is that stuff you can't get in Korea or China, you know what I mean? They take turns. Here in EU, we go at the same time.
Yeah, it's just a fist fight.
Amp to amp, baby. Yeah. Battle of the band, Scott Pilgrim style.
Scott Pilgrim style, great film. So, bot side wards placed from either side, just covering off level 2 ganks, you have to imagine, or late invades here. That ward will stop late invade, one will stop any kind of level 2 shenanigans. Although if you hug that wall on the left there, kinda you can get around it into river. Just very minute depending on where the ward is. But anyway, Razork going to start top side. Looks like Yike will start on red buff. Both junglers pathing towards bot as expected. Razork needs to be there to cover his bot lane. Yike needs to be there to try to force something in bot lane. No ignite for Rekkles or Rhuckz, just running full defensive tools as it expected. Cleanse for Hansama to get off the exhaust and get off Sejuani also. Also as expected. I think are they fake leashing bot? Looks like Hans used mana there. Yeah, they're fake leashing bots, so they're basically saying, Yike, you solo start topside, we'll fake leash bot, we'll arrive into this lane with Draven having an axe in his hands, which makes it look like he hit blue. So they'll say, maybe Viego's pathing top, so Fnatic need to be careful there. Just playing with information here, G2.
See if the mind game pays off here. Obviously, early trades very much favor the Draven. Those whirling axes, the massive AD steroid is difficult to deal with. Hook going just a little bit wide there from Mikyx. Hansama taking a lot of damage here in the exchange. Exhaust now going down. Fnatic very eager to capitalize on that trade. Good news for Hansama is he did opt for Longsword 3 pots, so can shrug off a lot of that damage.
I don't think he really cares about getting chunked out level 1. He knows they can't all in. They don't have Ignite. There's nothing really to be scared of. Rekkles hasn't gotten a creep yet. He can't walk up and farm right now. Yike's going to get level 3 and sprint down here. I think they're going to dive on the level 1 wave. If G2 keeps stacking this really slowly and they don't let this wave crash into tower, I think Yike can just run down and it's just an instant dive. Let's see if it crashes. I don't think it will. So this is a play that Fnatic need to defend. If Rekkles loses this wave, these 2 or 3 waves stacked up, the game's basically over. Luckily, Razork's around, but I don't know if they'll get level 2. None of these creeps are low, so I think this is just going to be an instant dive. Yike's hovering around the red. He is spotted. Ward will spot out Razork. I think they're looking for Razork now.
Even just stopping Rekkles from CSing, even just committing members here so he cannot farm comfortably is disruptive to Fnatic. But if they're able to grab the kills as well...
Nah, there's no way they can dive this 3v3 under tower, even though they're level 1. Mickey will just fake it a bit. He'll just keep walking forwards to say to Razork, you need to stay here, because if you base, we're going to dive you. And if Razork does base and Mickey sees it, they are going to dive them. So Razork has to stay. Mickey's just faking pressure here while Yike takes away the Raptors. So G2 are just playing with information. They're threatening plays and pressuring Fnatic into making defensive decisions. Razork's based. I think he could just call Yike down now and say, can we dive on the next wave?
Definitely an option, and so much credit to G2 for playing that one patiently. Do not overcommit for the dive. Waste so much of Razork's time. Giving Yike that small jungle lead as Tom and Mickey just continue to trade here. Again, 5 CS lead when all is said and done. See a bit more trading in mid lane. Cap's playing very aggressive in the matchup, but forcing Humanoid to burn through so much of his mana. Luckily, still has a pot, and I imagine should have some cookies coming shortly.
So no dive coming in. Yike's can go to his camps. So all in all, small CS denial. Nice stacking of waves. What G2 got there was pressure and information. Because Razork, they know Razork has to cover this, and now they know where he is. They know he's topside. Cap's really low. Q flash here from Sej. Not going to go for it.
What a risk. Caps can, of course, reaction flash, a difficult thing to do, but taking more of Razork's time. So he goes down, and he'll now spot the second Scuttle Crab being down. Red buff versus blue buff, but Yike level 4.
I think they can take this fight here in G2 if they want to. Razork has to be careful. Just has to Q out, I think.
Good Q to make it out.
Yike's not done yet.
Just trading a bit more aggressively, but again, red buff here is the big concern. Yike getting a little bit over aggressive. They're forcing out the flash. Rekkles coming over the wall. Rhuckz now in the area, has the shielding extra for Rekkles. Mickey now locking Rekkles down, buying a bit more space. Hansama low on mana, but the hook manages to land. First blood! Cash out for the Draven. It's disaster. Rhuckz locked down. Now Yike becomes Yuumi. Rekkles running the ice. Oh, it's a disaster for Fnatic. G2 just too damn clean.
It's all fallen apart. G2, 2 kills on the Draven, 1 kill on the Viego, no summoners left in bot lane. Confusing decisions from Fnatic. Why are they taking that fight? They're playing Yuumi Sejuani. There's no melee support to help Sejuani stack up the stun. There's no exhaust on Rhuckz. Hansama still has flash and cleanse. Now it's over a 2,000 gold lead in 5 minutes. The early game 3-men of the jungle bots have just been gifted a triple kill.
We have to take a look back at this replay because this is, believe it or not, 5 minutes into the game, probably the game-deciding play.
So this is great from Fnatic. Get the Viego flash. Now run away. Why are they staying around for, thinking they can take this fight? Only Rekkles can do damage. Razork has no spells left. There's no exhaust for Viego or Draven. And Hansama is just free hitting. Razork gets hooked. If he flashes that, it hits Rekkles anyway, so they'll probably get a kill. Rhuckz gets flash auto attacks from Mickey as he tries to jump onto Rekkles. He dies. And then Rekkles has lethal tempo stacked up, thinking maybe he can kill Hansama if he dives and bait him with the barrier, but that barrier's gone instantly. And I think he realized that, but didn't realize soon enough. Flashes and dies. Hansama, thumbs up from Mickey. And now it's only going to get worse. Dylan's just laughing there. He knows how bad bot lane is going to be for Fnatic and how much Razork is going to have to babysit and cover and pray that G2 make a mistake down here.
And there was a lot of questions around Hansama and Mickey, players certainly with high ceilings, but would they reach that potential? Hold that thought. Yike caught out now. Humanoid trying to punish. Yike locked down and taken out. Fnatic found their opportunity. Hansama and Mickey, are they still feeling confident in this one? They're forcing the flash because Caps is on the way and Razork has been caught out again. He just keeps cashing out. This man is rolling in money.
6 minutes in, 3-0-1 on the Draven. Already close to his mythic, which Rekkles has 2 daggers and a longsword. So kill over 2, Fnatic is good. Goes to the Sejuani, punishes Yike, yes, but I think they should have ran up there. I'm not sure why Humanoid ran down with Razork. Maybe he thought they could collapse on them, but there's no ult on the Azir. Gets bit baited, Rekkles dashes away from the hook. Hansama has a little bit of a freeze here. Rekkles can't even walk up and get the last hits. It's a 2.2k gold lead for the Draven, 7 minutes into the game.
Yesterday, we saw Hansama and Mickey dominate. Today, again, we are seeing Hansama and Mickey dominate. Last year for Mickey was rough. NA for Hansama was rough. But these players are hitting the ground running. They are hitting their ceilings. It feels like so incredibly fast early on in the season. Already playing like a well-polished unit. And the Draven coming back out, it's just 2018 flashbacks all over again.
It really is. Rekkles level 4, Hans level 6, stacking wave bot. No jungler around, but Razork probably needs to cover this. He's hovering around the bot side now, trying to get information. Yike could be there. They don't have the information to work with. Yike's just farming right now, but he needs to be here to respond just in case. That's the thing that Fnatic have been asking themselves this whole time. Are they going for it or not? And that confusion is just giving G2 so much of an advantage and just keeping Razork on his bot side. Yike maybe can get a Herald off this.
And what's terrifying is when Hansama backs and spends that last little bit of money and gets his Mythic this early on in the game, I don't even know if they win the 3v2. With Rhuckz's Exhausta, probably. But it's a difficult task at this stage of the game.
Oh my god, look at Hansama's items. Look at Rekkles' items. He can 1v2 them right now.
And the thing is games like this, for professional players, don't get played out unless they are on stage. These are the kind of games that players remake on every single time.
Is that
That's an 8-minute Kraken Slayer.
I wonder what the record is for the quickest Mythic we've had in the LEC. Oh, dive coming in. This is
Hansama instant cleanse. Exhaust now going down. Maybe this is enough. Hansama now flashing away. Razork taking so much damage. They get the flash, they get the cleanse, but they will not find the kill or the shutdown.
Caps can,
Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Caps fishing for the 1v1, gets pushed back into the tower. Caps are trying to follow up with a Q. Dashes out, rather. E2 into R.
Razork. I don't think he's sending that recall off.
Mickey now going forward. Waiting for the hook. Ooh, the wall. Saving the day there.
Almost got to predict. So Caps goes all in mid because Humanoid has no flash, but good reaction time. Gets Caps' flash on the end of that. Hansama had to blow both summoners on the dive. Oh, it's just rubbing salt into the wound. It just stings for Fnatic. Now they're
Yike
diving mid.
In. Humanoid forced to dash out over the wall. Yike can just keep
ult
chasing.
And flash.
Charging the W. Flash W in. Humanoid is done.
And now they can run towards bot here. Rekkles can't walk up. Look at the gold. It's 4,000 now.
I mean, look at the player cams. You can just see frustration on the faces of Fnatic, and you can understand why. Because again, Caedrel, you said it. Look at the gold. Look at the difference as the numbers pan out. Hansama miles ahead of the competition, doubling Rekkles' gold at this moment in the game.
Unbelievable how far ahead they are. G2 looking so dominant now. But they were kind of handed those kills initially, but the second you do give them those kills, these players are good enough that they're just going to snowball it into such a massive lead. It's only going to get worse now. Rekkles base and bought Berserker Greaves, so a little bit quicker, but has absolutely no damage compared to Hansama. Hansama has no summoners though, and Razork has his ult up soon. If you're ever looking for a window for Fnatic, it's there. Just all in bot 3v3. Maybe they can one-shot the Draven somehow with level 6 Yuumi, level 6 Sedge, chain CC, and an exhaust or something. Top lane's just been farming, you know? Yep. This is just my average solo queue game as a top laner.
There you go.
Even, and bot's over.
Wow. Is this the library chancer? Pretty brutal. Here's the thing though, Caedrel.
Yeah.
And this is what's scary, is that the gold lead, early game, hold that thought. Caps getting pushed back under tower, now dash backing into Humanoid, dashing back into Humanoid. You will retreat, just trying to keep Humanoid on his toes, trying to keep him below, so Yike always has that threat of coming in, as we see a bit more trading on the top side. Good stun. Wunder now pulling away. I think health bar just too low for him to fully commit to the exchange.
Eyes on bot lane though. Razork just showed mid, so what's going to happen? They're going to proxy them, force them back, pop the Herald, take the entire tower. Maybe they can start to look for a second tower or a dragon. They're strong enough to fight the 3v3. The only issue they have is Caps is under tower and Razork's looking for the dive. He's not even coming bot. He's trying to dive Caps here. Will he be able to pull off and land the ult? No flash on Caps. Humanoid's getting plates and
waiting, trying to dash out. Dashes back in. That's an oopsie. Mouse in the wrong spot maybe, but that's a good kill for Fnatic.
Hits the bullseye.
This is not good though. Humanoid running in, the flash. He's gonna be forced to flash out, but they're already waiting over the wall. He knows he's dead. He won't even commit it. Rhuckz waiting. He's been locked up. He can't push W again. Goodbye to Kitty Cat. Catharsis for all the Yuumi haters.
That's so unlucky. Can we get a replay of that from Rhuckz's POV? Because Mickey flashes over thinking Humanoid's going over. He finds such a stray cat and then just kills it.
That is a little brutal.
That is brutal.
That way. Razork getting caught out as well. Yike on the chase. I don't think there's anywhere for Razork to go. BrokenBlade just waiting like a little goalkeeper on the opposite side.
Poor Rhuckz, man. G2, it's brutal. It's just close your eyes and turn away. This is G2 are just demolishing.
This is a
Fnatic.
slaughter. I spoke to Mickey in the preseason. He said, get ready for 20-minute games. I thought he was bragging, thought he was boasting. Didn't know if we'd see it on stage, but we are. This is dominance. Now, good news for Fnatic is they do get this catch on the Caps, but he's not the Fed member of the team.
Yeah, the Avengers are coming. Bot lane's already got the tower. So what Mickey does here is he ults Humanoid, and he's thinking that he's going to flash over. I think he's just looking for a flash auto on his flash. As he flashes, hey, wait, there's a cat here! Yo, hands! And then they get a second kill, so yeah, nothing's going right for Fnatic this game.
Nope. Put the cat back in the book. Chalk this one up to unlucky, and I think start again, because Hansama has 2 items, 12 minutes into the game. He can probably lifesteal through Rekkles' damage quite easily.
Yeah, Noon Quiver not bringing the heat, I'd say.
Nope. No, certainly not.
So,
Caedrel, well, I don't think this is playable.
Is this just going to be a Hex Flash hook one-shot?
Hex Flash hook! Hook! Dashes over the wall, but forces him away from the tower as Hansama collapses away. This is the problem. Now that they've broken bot lane tower, Hansama has gone from being Rekkles and Rhuckz's problem to everybody's problem, and that is very concerning for Fnatic.
They just own the map. Look, they're just walking in anywhere they want. If you want to fight them, fight them. You have no chance whatsoever. They're just going to push in mid, run through your jungle, and run to bot tower, and they're going to hit it. And if you want to stop them, then stop them. But they don't care. You're just going to get dove.
And the problem is they're so far ahead that, yeah, Wunder's pushing on the top side. He's not going to get, he might get 1 plate maybe before plating falls away, but G2 are going to break an entire tier 2 tower.
An ult.
Ulti goes in, hits Hansama, he holds onto the cleanse as long as possible. Yike waiting over the wall, will not overcommit on this one. Big ulti coming out from Hans, getting all those health bars low. Rekkles and Rhuckz.
Yeah.
Waiting.
Threatening a tier 2 at 40 minutes in. Yeah, good response by Fnatic. Have to just use something to push them back. And if you're watching at home, if you look at Draven's portrait on the right, you'll see a little number on the top right. That's his stacks. So you'll be able to keep track of how many stacks he has throughout the game.
Which he doesn't have a lot of, again, because he just keeps killing people.
Yeah, 38 right now. Just getting spoon-fed kills. 4.3k gold lead at 14. Back to mid. That mid tower is low. That bot tier 2 is low. Herald spawning soon. And I think the amount of options that G2 have, they can just start running away with this. They're going to get mid tier 1, bot tier 2. They're going to get Herald. They're going to crack open top. And BrokenBlade is just kind of battling out against Wunder, watching the game unfold.
Yeah. You can see on the side of Fnatic, no one is speaking, which is a difficult thing to see in a pro game.
It's tough. It's these kind of situations, you know, I think everyone's been in solo queue, especially in a pro environment. There's nothing to say because you can't just make a call because there's no call to be made. Everyone knows the only thing to do here is just hold on and pray that a mistake happens. And if a mistake does happen, then people will start to light up and ignite and say, let's punish this, let's look for this. But until that moment comes, there's not much to do. Just communicate where they're going and then make the defensive play. See, Humanoid and Razork are right behind Wunder. Maybe if they dive here and go too deep, but Mickey's going to walk forwards and see if he can find information. So now G2 know they're there. Do they go for it anyway? Do they wait for the tower to die first?
Poke now going to go in. Hansama again just does so much damage. Stun going to force the dash away. Yike already on the backside, laying down a little bit of damage of his own. Draven all now coming in. He's going to get the finish. Oh, untargetable with the ult. Humanoid now forced out. Wunder going to get taken down. It is an absolute slaughter. Every single fight going in the favor of G2. They are simply too far ahead. 10k gold, 15 minutes into the game. This is montage material.
They have a Herald. It's going to hit top tier 2, I think. That's 2 towers gone. This is... When this tower dies, they're 10k up in 15 minutes.
This is the most one-sided game I have seen in a very, very long time.
I think this might be the most one-sided game I've ever cast in almost 3 years.
The gold tells all the story you need. Done by Santander. Hansama, 10k. Humanoid just barely above 5.
Poor Humanoid. And poor Wunder. I mean, we talked about this before the game started, how jungle bot is everything. And that's exactly what G2 have done. Caps, not to take anything away from him this game, as much as he's not really participating in anything, he didn't really do much. He just fought Humanoid on every wave. Humanoid tried his best to roam down, got them a kill. It's just the jungle bot lane taking over the entire game. Diving in between towers, getting kills early. The solo lanes, there's no real problem there. It's just the jungle bot. Things are falling apart, and as much as they're playing Sejuani, Yuumi, Zeri, and they want to scale against the Draven, they have to play defensive. They just bit off way more than they could chew, and if you give a lead to these champions 3 or 4 minutes into the game, this is what's going to happen. I mean, not to this extent. This is destruction.
This is the lead compounded with what is becoming more and more clearly G2's incredible incredible skill for this early in the season. We know they spent a lot of time practicing in the preseason, and it is clearly paying off on stage. It was dominance against Excel, dominance now against Fnatic, looking like a front-runner for top team in the LEC at this very moment. It is still only 2 games, but both of their games have been so incredibly one-sided.
Infinity Edge almost finished for Hans. Razork can't even farm his own jungle. Mid tier 2 is gone.
And this
All
is
tier 2s are gone. 6 towers to 0.
This is such a hard situation. You have to feel for the players of Fnatic. We highlighted it once before, but just have to highlight it again. You are essentially trapped in this game, watching what feels like a slow, inevitable defeat, barely speaking, praying that there's maybe some window of opportunity, but it is just so hard, especially after yesterday, which was a back and forth game against Vitality, and it feels like it just slipped out of your grasp, for today to be absolute devastation. To potentially start a week 0-3, going up against Mad tomorrow, I believe, and Mad looking strong, would be crushing in this new season.
It really would, especially considering it's single round robin. You know, yes, they've been fighting against the stronger teams in the league. We imagine they threw away the win against Vitality. This one is just a shellacking, so they need to start picking up those best of 1 wins soon. Cap's looking for Humanoid. Maybe Fnatic can look for a bait here, but he's not going to take it. Just look at Hans' items. I mean, Infinity Edge, 3 items, 18 minutes into the game. Dragon going to be picked up, second Dragon. No tier 2s to play for. Sieging tier 3s is quite difficult. But with this lead, I don't think they'll find too much of an issue with the mid wave coming in. They can just start to 1-3-1, rush Nash on spawn, or just try to force a dive.
Yeah. Well, bad news, Mark. It's just, I don't know how many more times we could talk about the same thing. It's difficult. The good news is it's hard to siege, as you highlighted.
Yeah, we're just going to have to wait for G2 to make their final play. There's only 1 play left, and it's just taking the Nexus. Here's Fnatic's play, 1v3,
landing, overload
1v4.
on the side, desperate to find the pick. Yuumi not going to connect on the final chapter, but the ulti now going to make sure they do that. So much chance to see BrokenBlade surviving for now. They're just barely able to finish him. Shutdown coming in. Tiny, tiny glimmer of hope for Fnatic. Wunder now dashing out to safety. G2 cutting the wave, maybe hoping they can dive them under this Azir tower. Mikyx coming around the corner. Hex Flash coming out now. Hooks right in immediately. Hits Rekkles. Hansama throwing down the X's from the backside. The potential to kill everyone. He does so much damage with Fnatic. Peeling back pretty well. Cap's trying to leap in. Hansama in the midst of the team. The shutdown. Miraculous. Keeping hope alive.
2 kills for Fnatic. They are on the chase for more. They got summoners out of them as well. Little bit greedy from G2, diving onto this Azir tower. Rekkles picked up a shutdown alongside Humanoid, I believe. And this came off the back of seeing 3 people mid. Look for the play bot. It's very early into the game when they're extending into tier 3, so getting those kills is a little bit easy compared to later on. If this Jax was 4 or 5 items, this would have taken a lot longer. But the kill comes through. Caps TP's in, has to run away. The tower's there. Shut down to Rekkles, and G2 are kind of confused here. They're like, well, we could go back mid, but they'll be able to defend in time. So Mickey just says, let's go. Hook hits Rekkles. Exhaust comes down onto Caps. Ult was good by Mickey, but then it's just this push from Humanoid. Hans reacts well, but he just gets pushed back anyway. Doesn't flash in the right direction, you have to imagine. So 2 shutdowns over to the Zeri, and Caps has to flash too. So, yeah, not out of the weeds just yet at all. Still 10, 11,000 gold lead, but a kill's a kill. Those are the mistakes that Fnatic are waiting for. There's going to have to be a hell of a lot more of them, though.
Certainly do, but the good news is Rekkles is now up to 2 items. Getting a big shutdown. G2 clearly focusing up after that play, just going to set their sights on this Baron. But again, this is where we've seen many teams throw away a game. Mickey waiting in the brush, forcing the disengage right off the bat, but the lifesteal coming out already. Yike and Hansama so far ahead.
They have to steal.
Can they steal it? Razork waiting to go over the wall, will not quite get it. BrokenBlade going to grab it in the end. Fnatic, they want to keep this fight going. They managed to lock down Mikyx. Can they finish the job? Hansama still standing strong on the backside. BrokenBlade leaping forward. Wunder trying to mitigate what he can, but the resets are now coming in for Yike. Yike hungry for blood, leaping in. One more ulti coming out. He is the heartbreaker, not hesitant to dispatch a traitor here in this game. Double kill now for Rekkles in the meantime.
30 seconds on the respawn. Wave in top with the Baron buff. 21 minutes into this game. TP back from BrokenBlade. Picked up the Zhonya's, healed up. They're pushing in. Humanoid.
Hook lands, pushing it back to the base. Mickey flashing right back over. The mark already down. Humanoid dropping. This will be it. 21 and a half minutes into the game. G2 marching victorious into the base of Fnatic. 1 or 2 small hiccups with a massive gold lead, but this has been a masterclass in domination.
I don't know if they can end 4 people alive here for Fnatic. They'll get 2 inhibitors 21 minutes into the game, but they're probably going to have to back away after this unless
pushing for
they look for the dive. Very risky.
Zoning away.
Diving the Azir turret is one thing. Diving the Nexus turrets is another. 1,000 shutdown on Yike. They're going to back away. They have Baron for another 2 minutes, and all they have to do is just reset, push through bot, and it's as good as done. Look at the gold lead on Yike as well. 6,000 gold ahead of Razork. So watch Mickey here. Lands the hook, gets the Yuumi ult, and when they turn back towards the Baron, I guess the main thing to highlight here is just Mickey's hook again, because what happens here is as Razork approaches the pit to queue over, he hooks him before he can get in as they're finishing, so he can't steal it. And then G2 back away for a moment, Razork flashes in, turn onto them, and then Yike gets the reset. And I think once he gets the reset, Fnatic just have to run for the hills.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that Viego's the kind of champion who adds insult to injury. Once you're behind in damage and a Viego team is ahead, he just keeps resetting, and that damage deficit feels worse and worse and worse. Double kill coming through is... That's the only kind of Yuumi I want to see, is the Viego kind.
But the Fnatic Death Brush, live.
A classic.
But they're going to end bot.
Come on, Caedrel ad, bro. Narrate it for us.
Looking for a pick, but the enemy team is running to their base. So the brush has been exposed. Caps, maybe? Nope. Mickey's probably just going to look for a fight. Mickey
dashing out.
Loves a good fight.
Mickey fishing for the hook. Rekkles now stepping back into Caps. Caps now dashing through, going invisible. Locked up in the pin, but trying to finish off Rekkles. A good exhaust from Rhuckz. Gonna keep his AD carry standing, but already one kill is down. Caps hungry for more blood. G2 taking their time on the final push. Humanoid doing what he can against these Baron-empowered minions. Ignite now ticking down, one auto from Hansama, 700 damage! Just deleting him off the map. Another one gonna fall as well. It was written on that first few kills going to the back pocket of Hansama. A massive lead, 6K advantage for Hans in the bottom lane alone. G2 walking their victory lap into the base of Fnatic. They move up to 2-0. Chance to go 3-0 in their games tomorrow on Monday.
They want to kill Rekkles. They want to kill Rekkles. They managed to take him down. They lost 2 for it, but the game is over. And it's only been 2 games, but this G2 looks really scary. Twice now they pulled it off through bot. Domination from start to finish. Brutal.
That was brutal. That was an execution. And I think for G2 fans, it feels good to see sparks for this team, to see them so dominant, to hit the ground running. For Fnatic fans, it's crushing. Because not only are you now 0-2, you're 0-2 against a longtime rival. Would have loved to see a strong start for Fnatic. And in this season, if you don't have a strong start, you may not even make it to the second stage.
Yeah, it's a long couple of weeks, but it's short in the sense that you only have 9 games now. You need to start picking up wins. G2 looking really, really dominant. Fnatic needs to get themselves on the board. High fives all around.
Yeah. And it's interesting, because the first time in a long time we're seeing a team that on paper should have certain strengths, really showing those strengths so early on in the split. It's a rare thing to see in the LEC. We've had a lot of super teams.
Yeah.
But I think when we talked about this before on Euphoria, I was actually kind of skeptical of G2, because again, we hadn't seen the ceilings of Hansama and Mikyx in a while. Not to discount their previous seasons entirely, but this was something that I think we wanted to see more from, and they have shown it in the first 2 games. They have absolutely dominated in the 2v2 before we even get Yike into the picture.
And you talk about strengths, this is a completely different style from G2. Last year, it's all about top side, BrokenBlade on carries, you know, focusing up there, Jankos helping out the solo lanes, bot lane, just trying to weather the storm, pick safe champs. We saw a little bit of Kai'Sa, such an MSI, but that was the whole way the year worked, Zeta, Seraphine, things like that. But now it's just all about bot lane, it's flipped.
Yep.
BrokenBlade's on his own, just chilling in top lane, watching his team dominate through bot. And as long as he goes even or ahead, then I think the team is pretty much set.
Just chilling. Player of the game at LEC, you see the options down in front of you, Yike, Hansama, Mikyx, but we're standing by with the top father himself. See what he has to say.
No.
Yeah, we are. Come on, keep going then.
No.
No. Go ahead then, it's your chance. You can keep going. Okay. Exactly. Yeah, this is pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really cool, yeah.
Yeah, they've been loud all day, but I'm gonna say, you know, Hansama's gonna be on PGL.
Yeah.
I don't think he did that much this game.
I mean, I didn't have to do much.
No, exactly.
My bot lane was, and my jungle actually, they were really, really active, really smurfing it up. So for me, I knew like, after they won the 3v3 on bot side, I literally just had to chill, not die to any ganks, make sure Xanta's not fat. And I knew with the way Hansama was talking this game, with communicating, the game is just over.
What do you mean?
And
What was he saying?
no, like he was when he's ahead, he's really active in comms, you know, and especially when he plays Draven, he's just very good on the champ, right? As you could see in this game, and I think Yike as well played a really good second game again. Very glad, very happy actually. So in the game, I felt very calm, and mid lane also felt very calm. I guess there was not much action going on there, but bot lane and jungle were doing really good job throughout the whole game. And I was just laying back, relaxing, you know, just playing Jax.
Yeah.
So
it was good, indeed. You didn't need to do that much, and it was a very comfortable victory. When it comes to the draft, though, some could say some risky business, right? They have a lot of CC. You gave Humanoid one of his favorite champions, etc. What was the thinking behind it? Because it spoke to me from a point of a lot of confidence, it seemed like, from the G2 camp, that you were willing to go for your draft versus a lot of their strong picks.
Well, I think it just depends on how we play certain champions as well. I think we are very comfortable on a lot of those. And I think we just played a lot better, you know. It's also a big factor of why, you know, things working. And again, like, once the balling gets rolling, Draven gets ahead, it's just very easy. And for me, it's like, I think Jax is pretty strong. So it's just an easy game for me.
Yeah, for sure. You're allowed to say that, you know, if it was comfortable. When it comes to G2, though, we were jokingly making the remark of, like, 2009 G2, like, all the things that happened. Mickey said, yeah, no, that's exactly what I feel. We heard you in the Match of the Week video going, the atmosphere is great. I feel like we're going to get such high highs. I feel like that's dangerous at some point, especially in games like this where you're so far ahead. Is there any action to kind of temper the excitement to make sure that you don't get overexcited, or are you just riding the wave right now?
Well, I'm not really sure. We just go with the flow kind of in this team. I think we've been doing really well so far in practice and also on stage, I guess, right? We won 2 games, which is very nice. Also, there's less games, so each game matters more, which is really nice to win those games as well, right? And I think winning against Fnatic especially feels really great as a G2 player, right? So I'm very happy with that. And yeah, just looking forward for tomorrow's game. Hopefully you're going to win that as well.
Let's see. Another question about kind of your development is that we saw this out of G2 also in spring of last year, right? You guys were great. Maybe you had some games that you weren't too happy with, but then you went on that insane run to win the title in spring. And I guess my question is, as we saw that winding down towards the end of the year, unfortunately for G2, this isn't meant to be a flame at all. Are there any dynamics in place in terms of kind of making sure that habits maybe that you had back then or things that you did in game that you should do better? Are you thinking that far ahead, or are you just trying to incorporate the new players into the lineup?
Well, it's a very good question, so thank you for that.
No problem.
I think we have a really great staff behind all the players to keep us accountable. So shout out to them, shout out to everyone in the staff, because we all do our mistakes, right? And last year we did mistakes, and I think we all learn from that. And having the same staff over the year is something we can just take with us, you know, and learn from that. And I think we are already making sure our habits are building up, you know, and trying to keep those good habits and trying to get away from bad habits. And we did it really early already. We mentioned a lot of stuff early on already, like potential challenges, how we like to call them in our team, so that they don't happen, or if they happen, we resolve them really fast. That's why I'm really confident in this team, and I'm very happy to be playing with this whole squad, you know.
Yeah, exceptional answer as well. Final question. When it comes to your main rivals in the LEC in this day and age and in LEC Winter, maybe from behind the scenes scrims and your general impressions, who do you think it's going to be for G2 this year?
I would say Koi, maybe, but probably ourselves. I think I don't want to be too cocky, but I do feel like right now we're the best. Don't want to be too cocky, of course.
You can't just say, I don't want to be too cocky, and then say something cocky, and then...
It's a humble first place.
Yeah, okay, I like it. A humble first place.
Yes.
Lovely. Thank you so much for that, BrokenBlade. Happy late birthday as well. And thank you to the G2 fans and all the fans that were here in the studio for the whole weekend already. We're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, it's PGL with special guest Hans Sama. See you then.